Home is a place.
No, no, no. Home is a feeling.
Home is my motherland.
It's more where you feel alive and inspired.
Well, I think we're talking about the same thing, aren't we? Home is where our story begins.
What's your story?
Homesick at Home every Friday from 9 to 10 p.m.
On Radio Van 103.1 with Ina MK
and Rina D.
Shot City. I'm coming home again.
Good evening, dear listeners of Radio Van. This is Homesick at Home. We are here in our studio again, happy and ready to host our new guest. I'm here with my co-host, Rina D.
Hello, Ina. Hello, everybody. How are you?
I'm good.
How was your week?
The weather is rainy, but
it's nice.
It's sunny here. So our guest is multi-talented musician, entrepreneur, and much more. Shant Girmizyan.
Hello, guys.
Hello.
Hello.
Thanks for having me. I appreciate it.
And thanks for accepting our invite.
Anytime.
So, no yes or no answers. This is the only rule of our studio.
I'm learning this now. Nobody else told me this before, right now.
Okay, so let's start from
we
the beginning.
We do it on purpose.
The beginning of your story. Where were you born and raised?
So, I was born and raised in Detroit, Michigan. The city of Motown, the city of techno, the city of cars. My family, from one side is from Kharpert, and from the other side is from Kilikia, from Alexandretta.
Wow.
I spent my whole life pretty much in Michigan, went to school, also University in Michigan as well. Spent some times overseas and also in Brazil, and then in 2013 I moved to Armenia for the first time. And
2013?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
How old were you back then?
Oh, now you're making me do math on the spot.
Okay, never mind.
Well, I'm 34 now, so I was 29. Okay. I came here because I fell in love. So that's why I came here.
We're eager to hear this story later on.
Yes.
Tonight. But let's talk about your first impression of Armenia. Like, how were you imagining, how were you picturing Armenia, and what was the difference of the reality you faced?
Well, of course, when every diasporan comes to Armenia for the first time, they have this picture painted in their head that came from their families, from their grandparents or great-grandparents.
With massis in the background.
Exactly, and that you're going to come and everyone's just going to open their arms and just grab you and say, "Welcome home." You know,
finally,
your family.
Where have you been?
Exactly, type of deal like that. And in all honesty, in the beginning, I did feel that way. Mm-hmm. I think it was because I was just almost couldn't believe that I wasn't just here on vacation. I moved here, and I was, in the beginning, I just decided I was going to relax for a while because I've been working my whole life, and so I took months and months and months off of doing anything just to have fun. So it was just like I thought it was supposed to be. Mm-hmm. But then after you realize, hey, you're living here, it's not a party all the time. You have to do something.
Yeah, don't mix tourism with.
you realize that
it's
a different story, and certain realities hit you. But it's good when the realities hit you because at least you know what you need to focus on to help make the country move forward. Mm-hmm. And why not help do something where you can make the country move forward if you're coming all the way here? Especially because most diasporans come from a background which generally they could live a lot better in certain ways in their home country, like in France or the States, as far as money and work goes, etc. So if you're going to make that transition and miss out on that opportunity, let's say, you better make the most of it and try to help. And if you're always in a dream world where you think everything's perfect, you're never going to be able to address any of the problems that we have here, and there's a lot of them. So it was a reality check that upset me at first, almost made me want to really leave and never come back.
Was it like a culture shock or?
Well, yes, because the culture here is
different.
In some ways. I can't say in all ways. There's still things that are shared between Armenians from everywhere around the world, but there are some pretty large things that you don't expect, and those things are the ones that hit you the hardest, especially when. If an Armenian, for example, comes to Detroit from Yerevan or anywhere else, it's a very opening and welcoming thing. But here, for example, when I came here with long hair and a beard and everything, I realized quite quickly that a large portion of the population didn't like me just for the fact that I had long hair, for example.
Yeah.
But it was back then. Now it's a bit different, or no?
It depends on where you are. In reality, I mean, for example, years back when I went to Paravakar in Tavush, probably one of my most favorite places in the world, the door was always open. Nobody cared that I had long hair. They didn't even look for a second. But then I could walk around Kaskad, and people could say certain things, and they wouldn't think I understood Armenian, and I would be able I'd be able to understand what they were saying. I'm thinking, wait a minute, I thought we were supposed to be in
What a
cosmopolitan
contrast.
Yerevan. What happened here? Why do I go to Tavush and it's no problem, and now I'm here and it's a problem?
It's interesting. It should be vice versa.
Yeah.
Technically.
Yeah.
But, I mean, you get over it. You kind of feel bad for when people feel that way because
You
a
kind
lot.
of feel bad for people who feel that way.
Yeah, because
Yeah.
they're missing out on I'm sure they're missing out on certain friendships and great relationships with people just based on ridiculous physical characteristics rather than getting to know the person. It's kind of sad. I even would say to them, "But you're Christian, right?" They'd say yes, and I'd say, "So you love Jesus, right?" And they'd say yes, and I would say, "Well, didn't he have long hair and a beard, bro?" Why is it different for everybody else? I guess and then they would say, "Oh, but it's, Urisha, it's different. It's
He was
different." Okay,
Jesus.
well, what the heck? Okay, but but yeah, it has changed a little bit, I will say. And I think it's changed for the better. I think people have started to realize that as long as the person is kind, and they're trying to do their best, well, these things don't matter. Let them do what they want to do.
Yeah.
Not harming anybody. Who cares?
Okay, let us go on an advertisement
She
break.
does this twice. Don't worry.
I'm not worried.
But we'll come back pretty soon to hear the rest of the interesting story hidden behind Shant Girmisyan. Stay tuned. This is Homesick at Home on Radio Van.
Ina, I thought this was an English-speaking show.
Are we on air?
Yes, every Friday night.
Homesick at Home. Yes, we are really here every Friday night speaking English with different great guests. So tonight our guest is Shant Girmisyan. If you missed the beginning, oops, too bad. But make sure you tune in right now, and if you don't have the frequency, you can go ahead and watch us live on www.radiovan.fm, which is our official website, and also our Facebook page, Radio Van. So we're back to our questions. Lots of questions prepared for you, Shant.
He's smiling.
So yeah.
Because I've known Rena for a long time, and I'm kind of worried about these questions.
But-
That's why I'm smiling.
But I can tell that you feel comfortable here. Right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Everything's fine?
I always feel comfortable.
Great. So why did you decide to move to Armenia?
Well,
The last 2000.
yeah, I always thought I would, but it's for love because I'm a softie, I guess. I met a woman, and we were actually introduced formally through Derhova.
Oh.
So, as most know, Derhova is originally a producer and DJ from Toronto, which is only about 4 hours away from Detroit.
We know Derhova, and we can say
I
hello
know.
to him
Yes.
right now.
Yes.
Hope he's listening to
He's
us.
been our guest.
Hello.
I know he has. I watched him while he was here. He's a wonderful person first and foremost. But he basically said, "I know how long you've liked Hasmik for, so he forced us to talk on first on Facebook, then he forced us to talk on Skype, and then he forced me to buy a flight and come here in November of 2013."
Մաղարի ճարել եք այդ մարդու։ Translate, Rena.
Okay, but we're missing out on a lot of stuff here.
Okay, fine, I'll do it. So basically, I used to have a picture, a photo. You know how teenagers, they put posters of their favorite singers on their walls when they're young, and I had a poster of Hasmik on my wall. And I used to tell my father, I used to joke around and say, Imdagina, my wife. And my dad would always laugh, haha, Darajan, love, okay. Yeah, right.
Okay.
Actually, the funny thing is, I messaged her a very long time ago on this old Armenian website, abide.am, abide get am. It's a very old site for
I'm
for
not
singers.
that old. Don't look at me.
And no, but I'm just saying there's so many connections that we had before. But I used to joke around and say she'd be my wife. And even in college, I would ride around with my other Armenian friends. We would be listening to her music, and I would joke around. And I said if I would ever meet Hasmik in real life, I'm going to marry her. And then in 2013 we met, and I think I was here for only 2 weeks, and we actually stayed together every single day for those 2 weeks. I didn't go touring around with my best buddy like I was supposed to. I just the whole time was with Hasmik, and that over those 2 weeks I met her parents. I asked her father if I could marry her. He said yes. I went back to the States, and in 3 months I remodeled my home. I sold it. I sold my cars. I sold everything pretty much that I had. And I moved to Armenia December 29th of 2013. And then I lived here ever since. But I did go back for a temporary amount of time, about a year or so, just for work contract purposes for work. And now I'm back.
So, dear listeners, dreams do come true.
Yes,
Miracles
yes.
do happen.
I mean, I've heard
just
this,
dare and
I've-
go for them.
I've heard this story like 100 times. I get goosebumps every time. I really
So
do.
now you know how to give goosebumps to Rina.
Oh.
So, Hasmik, we're saying Hasmik, but for those who don't know, Hasmik Karabedyan,
Yes.
our lovable, the beautiful spirit that she has. We say hello. She's listening, Hasmik Jan.
She better be listening.
Hello from entire Radio Van team. Hasmik is also a good friend of our radio from back old days.
She actually said to me, I wish I could be here tonight because there's such good energy inside of Radio Van. She absolutely loves it here.
And
Do
we
you?
love her.
Yeah, of course I do. Of course I love it here. Every time I've come here, everybody's been so kind and welcoming, just with a smile on their face. It's actually the type of people I would hang out with on a normal basis, you know. So, yeah, I love it here. You should have me here more.
Sure.
I think.
You're
Caught you
always
on that.
welcome.
Okay, so tell us
So-
about your work. What do you do? Your business, music?
I do a lot of things. By training, it's mechanical engineering, political science, international relations, international business. I'm kind of involved in a lot of things. By education as well, of course. But here in Armenia specifically, I'm the director of Dargit Brewing. Dargit is a company that makes craft beer in Armenia, the only company to make craft beer. We have a really beautiful microbrewery and restaurant on Arami Pohot, Aram Street. I should say it in English. It's very popular. People have been coming for years now. But we also opened a very large brewing facility outside of the city, just after Apovian, which is also brewing our craft beer. And now you can actually buy it in the store. We can buy it in a few places in Salas and
that's cool.
larger
I didn't know that.
places.
Yeah.
Yes. Well, it just happened recently. You're welcome.
Cool.
And so, and it's just a absolutely wonderful place to work for me. I left quite a decent position in the States under contract to come here, and one of the main reasons was, of course, waiting for immigration and being far away from your family, being far away from your child and your wife. It's just no amount of money in the world can replace the years that you'll lose, especially with a young child. I can't replace that.
No.
But the other big push behind it was just the people who I get to work with on a daily basis. They're wonderful. They really, truly are. I mean, just everybody. I don't have a complaint about one person. And I've worked at a lot of places. I've been working since about the age of 15. So I've worked a lot of places, and I've never been at a place where every single person that I work with, I want to be around. They want to work too. There's nobody that's lazy and doesn't want to do anything. Everybody wants to work as a team and make it a good company. And it's happy. And it's very
amazing.
diverse too.
Yeah.
There's also our brewmaster is actually a man of Indian background. He's originally from the UK. He's brewed beer in England, France, Bermuda, China, and now he's here with his wife, who's Chinese, and their child. And he's our brewmaster at the new facility. So this company is just insane. It's amazing. There's people from everywhere. There's Armenians that work there that are from the diaspora and local as well. And it's an amazing place to work. So That's what I'm doing now, but my previous life I was heavily involved in engineering and project management for companies like Ford, General Motors, Chrysler, Boeing, Volvo, a lot of the large manufacturers around the world. And I designed tooling for them. I designed line equipment, processes, you've named it. I've done it.
That's great to hear that after all this background, you found a
You're here.
good place where you feel happy to work.
And I hope to open up something here as well in the engineering field because we need help here in that regard. We need to start manufacturing things in Armenia because we don't.
Yeah.
There's not much of manufacturing at all going on, and we're
Sure.
not going to
Yeah.
go much further if we can't get that started. So,
Shant, working in America and working in Armenia, what are the main differences?
interesting question. It's much more relaxed here in some ways. Now, I can't speak so much for Dargit, where I'm currently at, because everybody there has a very Western mentality, let's say, in terms of work environments. But the other places that I've consulted for, that I've worked for in Armenia, it's been quite hard to deal with, personally. Just because I felt, I feel or felt, I don't know which one, that there wasn't a lot of concern for the employees that were at their workplace. Whether it be in a factory or someplace else, it was just kind of like, you do what I tell you, and if you don't do what I tell you, then it's going to be a problem. So it was hard to see people actually come out of their shell and try to make good ideas happen because they were afraid to.
Yeah.
But at where I'm currently at, it's not like that. But a lot of places I've seen that are that way.
So it's a lack of initiative?
It's no, not like I think I think everybody has a lot of initiative inside of them, but they're afraid to do it because they're afraid to say something wrong, with quotes wrong. But at the same time, there's a really neat environment that's sometimes created at the companies that you work with. I mean, some people they go out to lunch together every day, and maybe they'll have a few beers together, then go back, or at the end of the day they'll have a few beers together. You know, I mean, or even in the office.
Yeah.
I mean, you don't do that in America because there's so much liability behind it. Which in one way is good and in one way is bad, but in Armenia, I mean, what liability, you know, for us it's a little bit different at our company. We do take that very seriously, especially considering we produce alcohol, you know. We take that very seriously at our company. But at the other companies I worked at, I mean, lunchtime could have been a pretty fun time, depending on the day it was. So that's the good part about it. The other good part about it is that coming here as a diaspora, and I don't think it should be this way, by the way. I think it should be this way for everybody, not just diasporan Armenians. People tend to listen for some reason more if you're from the diaspora. So it gives you the opportunity to really make an impact more than it would be in the States, for example, because there's 350 million people in the States, and a lot of them coming from a very diverse background in terms of education or work experience. So you're a drop in the pan. You're just a speck.
Yeah, I see what you're saying.
But here in Armenia, people actually look at you like, wow, you came from the outside with a ton of experience. And we want to grab that experience that we don't have here and use it, which, again, I think is wrong. I think everybody should get the same opportunity as anybody else to speak. But as a diasporan, it does help to really be able to mold and form what you're doing inside of a business or a nonprofit. I also had a nonprofit that I founded. So it's like you get to do these things that you might not be able to do in the States.
So you feel that our society is open to receive this experience from you?
Depending on who it is, yes. In my business consultancy, I'd had some problems where somebody would call me to give them advice or look at their processes and come up with a plan. And I would do it for them, and then they would tell me, no, we're doing it right. And I would think, well, then why did you call me? why do you want me here? But in general, that's a very small percentage. In general, most people are really ready, open, and willing, like happy to have you speak and give them advice. Because for some reason they say, well, I think it's basically they think, well, heck, you did that in America. So, and all these businesses in America are working great, so bring that over here. Maybe it will do the same for us.
Do you think this is something new and it's kind of like progressing more and more?
That mentality?
Yes.
I do. I think that finally, as the middle-aged generation, let's say 28 till 45, roughly, is starting to take control of everything, and it's starting to go that direction. It unfortunately was that older generation who grew up really heavily under maybe I don't know for sure, maybe that Soviet background where you just have to kind of be a stone and walk straight and do your, don't go left, don't go right. Now the new generation is saying, I want to go left, right, up, down.
They're not afraid, most of them.
Excuse me. Yes. So it's exciting. I hope it keeps going that direction because, as you see, and I think the influx of Armenians from Syria really helped too. If you look at all these restaurants that Syrian Armenians open, they're amazing. The businesses that they open, they're amazing. Customer service is amazing. They're really like the Orinak for everybody else, the example. It's just mind-blowing what they've been able to do. So I think that was also a very, very huge part of why we're seeing a positive change forward in terms of work environment and mentality in the country. Their misfortune was actually a gift to Armenia, as far as I'm concerned.
I think a new culture is being born here. A mix of
a fusion.
Yes, it's a new fusion,
It
and it can only go towards something better. That.
Excuse me. Yeah, it's a forced integration of Armenians from around the world. It's a forced integration for us to accept each other, and that wasn't really happening before. It was always like, oh, the Syrian Armenians are like this, Lebanese Armenians are like this, the Americans Armenians are like this. Then when we get together, it's like something new is happening. It's a mix, the way it should be, I guess.
Shant, well, our show is called Homesick at Home, and this is one of the standard questions we ask to all our guests. Where is home? And what is home in your understanding?
God, I almost feel like I was going to cry when you asked that question. Seriously. Seriously, it's a really... Oh, that's heavy. As an Armenian, you always have your Hayrenik. But my family's from Kharpers. My family is from Kilikia. So part of me says that that's my home, right? Even though I've never seen it, except for in pictures. A few days ago, I saw some of my friends, and they took a picture in Detroit, and I got misty-eyed. Excuse me. But when I'm in Detroit, I'll see my friends here, and I'll get misty-eyed. I don't know where home is. That's the most difficult thing to answer. I miss my family so much every day. My grandparents are like angels to me, and they're in their 80s, and my family, my father and mother, they mean a lot to me. We have a very, very close family, and when you're far away, especially from like your grandparents, my father's very healthy, my family's in good health, and my grandparents are, but you don't know. When my grandfather used to mow the lawn on his riding lawnmower, I would cry if I couldn't sit with him on it when I was a child. You know what I mean? If when I had to leave my grandparents' house, I would cry because I wanted to stay with my grandmother. So when you have family at that age and you never know what could happen, and you're 6,000 miles away from home, that pulls on you every day. I don't care who you are. I don't care what you say. It pulls on you, and it really creates sometimes a stress you don't even know is happening. But then you might by yourself, or maybe you go out and you have some drinks with friends, and then all of a sudden that comes from the back of your head, and you're like, oh, God, I feel it. Why did you have to ask that question?
Let's say hello to your family and to your grandparents and wish them a long and healthy life.
Yes, thank you.
But when you get to travel back to the U.S., what do you miss the most about Armenia?
Besides obviously my wife and child.
Sure.
I miss waking up and seeing Ararat every day. I miss the air. I miss the water. I miss walking through the streets and being able to be Armenian full time, speaking my language and eating my food and that sort of a thing. There's 65,000 Armenians in Detroit. It's not a small community. We have a statue of Komitas right downtown on our main street.
Wow.
And our
didn't know that.
But the Armenians, not all, because I know if some of them are listening, they will kill me. But it's a little bit different. You have the ones who are proud to be Armenian, and you have the ones who are Armenian on certain days, and after that,
random Armenian.
selective pride, I guess. Very disconnected from the homeland, and it's not. I'm saying anybody's bad, but I'm like the most Armenian in my family. For example, my family, you know, I mean, I just went crazy with it, and it was because I chose to. So anybody else can choose to as well, and it's just in Detroit, it seems like the community is slowly melting away, unfortunately, compared to what it used to be. So when I'm there, although I have my friends and my city, which by the way is awesome, I miss just being able to walk down the streets and speak my language. There's something about walking on this land that every time it just pulls on you. It's like a magnet. If you come here once and you're even semi-connected to your roots, it just pulls on you.
So could you tell that you get your energy from here, from Armenia?
What do you mean by that?
Where do you collect your energy from? Where do you get your energy from?
I mean, both. I can't say one or the other. I can't say it's here or there. I mean, when I'm producing music, I'm pretty heavily hit by Detroit, you know.
Yeah.
But most of my music has Armenian instruments in it as well that some people don't even notice. So I always want to combine the two. I mean, I'm one of those Armenians where I always have to mention that I am Armenian, or I always have to try to include that into like a bio about me if somebody is doing an interview with me. You know,
like,
something like that.
I have a map in my pocket. Let me show you where Armenia is.
Exactly. So it's I get energy from both, and I get energy from Brazil. You know, I spent a lot of time in Brazil as well, but my two main places, I mean, it's Yerevan and Detroit for sure. But you can't ask me to separate the two because I can't.
So let's talk about you and music.
Mm-hmm.
What kind of relationship is that?
Heavy. My grandparents are vocalists. My great-grandfather was a very famous jazz trumpet player. He went by the name of Armin Kay. He played with B.B. King, Fats Domino, Johnny Carson.
Wow.
My father is a vocalist. All my aunts on that side of the family are vocalists. I'm a vocalist. Not right now, obviously. I can't stop coughing, and again, I apologize
you need
for that.
to treat this guy better.
But my main love, I guess I could say, as far as music in recent years, since probably about the age of 18, which I guess isn't that recent anymore, is electronic music. I mean, I was exposed at a young age to it, but even younger than 18, way younger. But I mean, Detroit is the home of techno, and if you're from Detroit, and even if you're a heavy metal guy, you listen to techno. It's just part of us. Kevin Saunderson, Juan Atkins, Stacy Pullen. I mean, just these guys are nuts. They're revolutionary. They started out by mixing their parents' disco records, you know, in their basements and using a telephone for headphones by wiring it up. It's just revolutionary. Wow. And so my love for electronic music can't be explained. I mean, it makes me just so happy, especially when there's no words, because there's no lyrics to tell me what the song means to me. I get to tell myself what it means.
That's interesting.
So, you know, I produce Detroit techno, house, funky house, deep house. I've done trance. I've done dark techno, which is actually a real big favorite of mine.
Sounds spooky.
And you know, I DJ as well. But there's something about it that every time I hear it, it puts me back like at the Detroit Music Festival, which is a huge music fest, one of the largest in the world. And just you from morning till night for a whole weekend, you just hear boom, 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 boom throughout the city, and it just makes you just go crazy. It
makes your stomach dance.
I DJ'd in Yerevan as well, as Rena knows. She's been to a few of my shows. I DJ'd a lot with Joseph Zakarian, who you've also had here on the show before.
Hello, Joseph. If you're
Hi,
listening.
Joseph, if you're listening. I DJ'd with Derhova at Kami before. That was in 2013 when I first came here to see Hasmik.
Do you have a nickname?
Sound Code.
Sound Code.
Yes.
Yeah.
And I have a record label in Detroit. It's called Subdivision with a Z. Check it out, everybody. We're pretty awesome, in my opinion.
So we have a couple of comments from Derhova and Hasmik. They say, hey, hello, hey, Shant.
Hey, guys.
Hey, guys. Thanks for watching us.
The two people we were talking about the most, I would say, finally listening.
Great people, though.
Very great people.
Yes.
Do you remember when you earned your first salary?
In Armenia?
No,
Or no,
the very first salary.
well,
Working from 15.
I was actually younger than that. The first time I worked, I had the stereotypical job in America for a child, which is delivering papers. And gosh, I can remember I had to have been 10
Wow.
or 11, maybe 12. Like, it was so long ago.
Wow.
God, I feel so old talking about this. I can remember having to wake up very early and sitting on the steps of my parents' house, just looking at the door like, oh God, why in the hell are they making me do this? I'm too young. But it taught me a lot. And my dad, my family has been pretty blessed. My family has done pretty damn well for themselves. And I'm proud of every single one of them. And everyone made themselves. My grandfather made himself. My father made himself. My aunts made themselves. It really is impressive. My mom's side of the family too. I mean, my uncle went from, just being this kid who went to high school, went to a 2-year college, and now he does very well for himself, and he has a beautiful home with his family, and works, as one of a leading person at Ford in his factory, and they're just self-made. And my father wanted me to do the same. My father made me work because he didn't want me to be stupid. He didn't want me to be dumb with money. He wanted me to understand the value of money, even though after that I made a lot of stupid decisions in my youth. But my father, just like his father did, wanted to instill in his children work ethic. And if it wasn't for my family, or my grandfather and my father, and I probably wouldn't have achieved half of what I achieved so far, when I'd like it to be a lot more. But my dad was always, he said, I'll help you if you're trying. Basically, if you don't have a job, but you're trying to get a job, I'm always there to help you. But if you're sitting on your butt, don't come to me. And that's great. That's how every parent should be. That's why in Armenia you see a bunch of kids driving around in really, really expensive cars that their parents bought for them, and they have no sense of respect for anybody else because they just have everything handed to them.
Because you have to learn that everything has to be earned.
Yeah.
Exactly, and that's why when their parents pass away and
That's
there's nobody to
one of the
manage,
best things
all that money goes away.
to teach, especially to a boy.
Especially.
Well, you sound so ideal with all the family and all the personality. You're an angel.
Oh, you don't know me.
I'm not saying anything.
But
Yeah, Brenna especially, you don't you say a damn thing.
okay, but still, I have a question.
Too many nights out at the bar with you, no way.
Anyway, is there anything that you would change about yourself?
Oh my God, yes. Oh my God, yes. That's you guys.
Speak out.
You guys should have told me that you were going to ask me this question before I came to the radio station, so I could have
Do we need
written a
another
Bible.
half hour?
Probably, if it's possible. I'm enjoying myself. Yeah, there's a lot of things I would like to change about me. I love to debate. I love it to the point where it will take up too much of my time. The problem is I know what I'm talking about when I debate. That's why I do it. That's why I've considered going into law actually, but it can take up too much of my time. The other thing that I would like to change about myself is that I'd like to stop paying attention with all the things that are wrong and focus more on all the things that are good. Especially being in Armenia. Because there was a time where I said, I'm leaving and I'm never coming back. Because I had to deal with certain neighbors, like, for example, in our yard, they will be driving at 70 kilometers an hour while there are children playing. People abusing animals, which is a very near and dear thing to my heart. These types of things. And then when you focus on those things, you tend to forget, okay, what about everything else already that's so good? What about the loving family that I just talked about for 15, 20 minutes? What about that? What about the fact that I have a daughter? I have work. I have a house. I have all of these things. I'd like to focus on that more, and I'd like to be more dedicated. I'd like to be more focused in my religious beliefs like I was when I was younger. That's something that's very, very important to me. And I would definitely like to spend more time doing that. I mean, I got a list. I could keep going on about the things I'd like to change about myself, but think those are the three main things, except for I guess the last one is having a lot of times too much doubt in myself as far as what decisions I would like to make, and second guessing myself all the time. I'm pushing myself nowadays to just do it. Just, you thought about this, stop second guessing yourself and do it. And it was actually my father who told me that. He's like, no, you already made the decision to go to leave what you're doing in Armenia and go back. Don't change your mind. Buy the ticket. Don't be afraid.
Yeah.
Just go and do it. But that's a big problem I have, is always second guessing what I do.
Your father should be proud of you, I think.
No, I should be proud of my father is what it is, and I am.
Both of you guys should be proud of yourself, each other. What's your
Shant.
sign? Shant, what's your sign?
Aries. And from what I know about it, I guess it suits me. From what
I love it.
from what I hear, Aries don't back down, and they might be seen punching someone. So I guess that's happened once or twice in my life, unfortunately.
I mean, I really don't know what to ask this guy, because I almost know everything about.
You know too much sometimes, I think.
You just lean back and enjoy it.
Yeah, I'm just kind of like, oh yeah.
Rena's like,
right.
yeah, I have to spend 30 more minutes listening to stuff I already know again.
Shant, being a father, I mean, your daughter is, how old is she now?
December 16th, she'll be 2 years old.
2 years old. What have you learned from her? What
That I
what
thought I was a
has-
good person before she was born, and I realized that I wasn't as good as I thought I was.
Wow.
For sure. That's
That was
100%
strong.
for sure.
That's pretty strong.
You know, I mean, what's one more drink? I'll just stay out as late as I want. You know, I have a child at home, and while it's okay once in a while, go out, do your thing, enjoy your life. There's nothing wrong with that. You can't go out all the time. You need to be fresh and ready to do anything at any time that your child or your family needs. It's a little bit different when you don't have a child, because, for example, there was a time where when I would be here in Armenia with Hasmik, I never went out without her. She was always with me, and a lot of my friends, guy friends, would get mad, like, let's have a guys' night. I didn't want to. I had fun having Hasmik with me, you know? But then once the baby came along, it was a bit harder to do those things and, you know, go out a little bit more here and there. But then I realized, what the hell? I have more fun at home playing with my daughter and laughing with Hasmik when my daughter's something crazy than I could ever do going out to the club or the bar, or even doing music, which I get into it and I really enjoy it. Brenna's seen me. I close my eyes half the time and I just start going and playing music, you know? But still nothing can replace those times with her. And I just realized that I have to, no matter where it is, no matter how bad it is, I have to do my best. Even if I'm hungry, I have nothing to eat, my family will have something to eat. And they'll always be taken care of. And I've always been that way, but I think that my daughter really made me realize that I was that way, and then that was it. There was nothing else I cared about. I mean, it's like God and family, it's like right there. And that's the best gift she could have gave me. My daughter has definitely, in more ways than I'm telling you, she's made me a better person. And she doesn't even know that she has, but she has.
We'll have two women crying right here on air
Shant,
in a minute.
I know how the bond that you two have, Hasmik and you, it's beautiful. I love it, and I wish that a lot of people would have the same kind of bond. I want to ask you about love. What is love?
Love is when you're waiting for the person and it seems like time is just standing still and taking forever. But then when they get there and they're next to you, time just flies by. It goes by too fast. That's what love is. When they're not there and it seems like forever, when they are there, just like, no, I want more. I need more time. I need more time. Don't get me wrong. Every relationship has problems. But when it really comes down to it, you know, just to give you an example, we were living in in Canada temporarily, and Hasmik came for 6 months with Dativ, and I hadn't seen them for 6 months at that time. And we're working on immigration deals with the States, but Hasmi could come to Canada. So every day I was crossing the border from Canada into Detroit, driving an hour and a half one direction to work. And it was hard. Hasmi was away from home, and it was very hard for her, and I know it was. And it was hard for me too, but for me it was a bit easier because I hadn't seen my daughter for 6 months, and the fact that I was with her, it was kind of like, I don't care that there's all these problems right now. I'm with my daughter finally. For Hasmi, it was a little bit different, a lot different. You know, I mean, she's a famous singer in Armenia, and everybody knows her, and she doesn't necessarily have that same experience with all the Armenians in Canada or the States. And I can just remember there'd be some arguments, obviously, like any relationship would have. That day that they left was the most horrible day. And I was at the airport with one of my best friends in the whole world, Stefan. Hi, Stefan, if you're listening.
Hey.
And his mother was very close to me, Rita Arakelian. And she gave me a hug, and she's always been such a wonderful woman to me. And right in the middle of the airport, I broke down like a little child. Because they had just left. I mean, they just walked away from me. Like, I saw Datev in her stroller with Hasmik walking away, and I'm like, you're a man. Suck it up. You can do this. You can do this. And as soon as his mom gave me a hug, I was like, ooh, shout for them. But the great thing is about that experience is that now, anytime I kind of want to get angry about something, I try not to first and foremost, but if I'm going to, I pinch myself on the right side of my arm. It's a technique that works, by the way. And it reminds you of that certain experience. And I remember how it felt for Hasmik and Datev to leave. And it makes you think, well, I mean, just, if there's a problem, talk about it. Don't get angry about it if you don't have to. I mean, that's stupid. Remember how you felt when they left? Mm-hmm. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it teaches you to work through things and appreciate things more, because
value.
At any minute, what if I have to leave? What if something, God forbid, happens in America and I have to leave? I have to be away from them again. Why waste the time being angry about stuff when you can just talk about it? You know?
Masis Inglesian.
That's my boy.
Says, nice haircut.
Masis, you should have him on the show too. He's originally from Sydney. And he moved here. Message again, Masis. I think it was 4 years ago, something like this. I think it was 4 years ago, roughly. And he made the decision. No, he's going to move to Armenia. He's going to make his life in Armenia. Him and his wife, Hasmik, is her name. They got married just a year ago. They are a wonderful couple. And by the way, I'm the one who told Masis that she was a great pick and he should marry her. I hope you're listening, Hasmik.
Oh, you guys have a kind of cool network.
and Masis
giving advices to each other.
And honestly, Masis, we really depend on each other. He is an. At first, when I met him, I wanted to punch him. I didn't like him. And I think we didn't like each other a little bit. And now he really is a best friend. He's a brother. He is a straight up. He is my brother, and I will do anything for him, and he will do anything for me. We're always there for each other. I mean, even if it's just down to have a coffee, or if it's to the point where, we're taking each other somewhere, we're doing work on the house or something. It's just developed into this friendship, and his wife Hasmik has become very close to my Hasmik as well, and they'd come over before and just stay the night, just to party up and stay the night. It's just without Masis, honestly, and a few other people that probably aren't listening because they're out of the country right now, but like Harut Aderhova is one of them. My friend Marut, obviously Masis and Gapo, and just without those people, it'd be really hard. And Masis is one of those people that made it easy, gave me the encouragement, said, I'll always be here for you. Don't worry, you can do it. Let's come home. Let's make Armenia better. And he was a big push behind me making this decision.
Shant, do you know that we have only 10 minutes left before our show is over?
Oh, wow.
I talk too much.
But
No,
I
it
want to
happens
say,
always.
I just want to say, Masis Jude, you gotta come over here and do a show with us, because if Shant's saying you're this cool guy,
He's
we want to
awesome.
meet you.
You're
He's
welcome
awesome.
to be
We
here.
want to meet you.
And now we have to go on an advertisement break, but we'll be back in a couple of minutes, and we'll have another 8 minutes to go with our Whew, amazing guest, Shant. Stay tuned.
My bro.
Ina,
Yes, Rena.
I feel homesick.
You want to talk about it?
This Friday,
Every Friday on Radio Van.
homesick at home.
You probably heard the giggles
Oh
in
my
the studio. Yes, we couldn't help laughing because Rena.
Okay, that's enough.
Well, yeah, we'll change the subject.
because she just told the story
These
that
cameras
we,
should
that
be
we
off.
just cannot tell on
No,
air.
no.
Sorry.
We're not doing it.
Okay, Shant. Let's concentrate on Shant.
Okay.
And what about you and Hasmik's cooperation?
Oh, as far as music.
Yeah.
So we just, well, I shouldn't say we did a song. Hasmik has a new song that I happen to sing background vocals on. It's Hasmik's song, not mine.
Congratulations. It's a lovely song, Hasmik Jan.
It's called Im Datev, or My Datev, and Datev is our daughter's name.
By the way, we're hoping to invite Hasmik and
Yes,
talk with
yes.
her specifically.
We were going to come, but the only way we could come was with our daughter, and trust me, it would not have worked. She would have had these cameras and microphones on the floor and everything. But yeah, we do. She has a new song, and I sing background vocals on it. And it's the video is all about our daughter, and it's a video where the whole family is in it. She is, I am, my daughter is. The song is, of course, produced by Derhova because nobody can do what he can. Let's be honest. And I want to remember Mari Grigori, the MK Studios, if I remember, or MG Studios. She did the video for us, and Hasmik's sister, Armine Karapetian, she did the makeup. She's very talented with art as well, a painter. And we filmed it between the botanical garden and the park by Tumo. And yeah, it's a great song. And but now my wife is, and many other people are making me do solo projects and a
Many
duet
other
as
people
well.
are.
One of them is
sitting
Rana that's
here.
been pushing for it for about
Because
5 years
he has
now.
a beautiful voice, and I love the way he sings. So
So
it's
does
a
so does
shame,
Derhova.
you know,
he's
it's a
pure
shame.
soul.
Hopefully next time we'll
Yes.
hear him sing in our new studio.
I'll do it.
But it's gonna be a surprise. Okay, dear ladies and gentlemen, our show is about to end, and I would like to remind you that if you missed this show, you can go ahead and watch it later on our Facebook page and our website. Watch the recording of this episode. You'll find out a lot of interesting things for yourself, firstly, and also we're here every Friday, so don't miss our shows. Our guest was wonderful, amazing, multi-talented man person, father.
Man person.
A man person, father, a brother, and husband, Shant Kirmizian. And we'll have the last 2 minutes, so if you have something to say to Armenian people
Yeah, I do.
in this period of time,
Uh,
period of changes, maybe.
Yeah, I want to say, if you have the ability to come, like, repatriate and come back to Armenia, do it. Helping from afar is okay, sending money is okay, but you're really going to make an impact only if you come here. So there's a lot of people I heard that would say, you know, when we get this country back on track, I'll come back. We'll move to Armenia. Once we get rid of the bad guys, let's say.
Yeah.
Well, it's kind of happening now, so it's time to put your money where your mouth is and put your words into action and come back, because the country does need you. But we need to work together to make this place better, and it's only going to happen if we can start bringing more Armenians from around the world
so true.
back.
Yes.
Thank you so much, Shant. We enjoyed you being here.
I enjoyed it a lot. I'd like to do it again.
I enjoyed this, you know, this was different. I mean, you're like this, yeah.
Things happen
Yeah,
here.
yeah.
This was Homesick at Home. We'll be back here next Friday. Have a great Black Friday night.
Have a great Black Friday night.
Friday night. And amazing weekend.
Goodbye.
Bye-bye.